advice. Now sit back and relax while you get advice that will take you to the next destination in your career or business. And now, Katrina Brittingham. Hello, hello, hello. It
Hello,
is Katrina Brittingham and Dr. Love. We are back.
hello, family.
We hope you had a wonderful holiday.
Yes, 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 yes. Uh, plenty of food. I hope you didn't eat too much turkey.
I actually didn't have turkey this year,
Ah,
which is a good thing. Short story before we go into the topic.
okay,
I started cooking Thanksgiving dinner when I was 16. I
okay,
made my first Thanksgiving dinner. It was good, and my mother officially retired from cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
okay.
And so years after me making it, one year I was like, I don't want to make a turkey. I don't really care for turkey anyway. I'm gonna try something else.
You were
And
all
so I
turkey
made something else, and my mom and my uncle asked me, "Well, why did you not do a turkey?" I said, "Well, because quite honestly, I said I don't really like turkey that much."
Okay.
And I was just like, so I just decided to do something different and try something else. And they both said to me, "Well, I don't really like turkey that much either, but it's tradition."
uh
So I still sometimes make turkey, but this year I had the pleasure of not having to cook. And so
ah,
they did have turkey as an option. I just didn't select it. And I thought about it because why eat something just because it's tradition? Why do
yes,
something
because,
just because it is
yes,
tradition?
because. Okay, okay, okay. But you
You know,
never told us
if
that
you don't like it, why are you grinning and bearing it
when you don't have to. When you don't
when you
have.
don't have to?
Oh boy, that sounds like a relationship topic to me.
It does. Why are you grinning and bearing it when you
How
don't
you
have to?
feeling and bear it, and you don't have to, honey. You know what I'm saying? Well, you never told us what was the alternate that you made that year when you didn't make.
That year, I made actually a roast chicken
Ah, got you.
and stuffed it with rice. No, no, I actually stuffed it with oranges, and I
Orange.
made like an orange chicken,
Okay.
um, and everything like that, and it went over great. I mean, I didn't even have any leftovers from that.
Sure.
And the next year, I made duck.
Okay. Dang.
So
So you were very creative.
I was just I actually, because I Google the world, I do. I would be lost without Google.
Okay.
And I Googled alternatives to turkey that year. I was anti turkey that year. I was just like, I do not want to make this turkey. I still got up early to do all of the Thanksgiving things, but I was like, I'm cooking for days. And I said, I just don't feel like turkey. I was in this house, and at that time I lived alone. And I was like, they're gonna leave, and I'm gonna have all this turkey that I'm just gonna end up throwing out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't. That year we just actually didn't have a huge family gathering, but then the next year when I had the family gathering, more people came, and my mother was telling them, "Oh, she didn't make turkey last year." So in between that time, from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving, I'm having all these conversations with my family members. And they're like, "I don't even really like turkey. That was just so creative what you did, and I never really thought not to have a turkey because their grandmom always had a turkey and da 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 da." And I was like, so most of the family don't really care for turkey, like that, the actual Thanksgiving turkey, but we
Yes.
were having it out of tradition.
Out of tradition. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting. You found there were a whole lot of family members that didn't care for turkey.
Not like that, and because they all talked about, oh, and you'll be eating turkey for like 2 weeks because the shelf life is on it is about 2 weeks,
That's right.
unless you freeze it, and nobody was interested in freezing like turkey. And
Mm-mm.
they was like, I would just be so turkeyed out, and that just makes so much sense. Unless we had, when we were growing up, we had my grandmother had 7 children, and then they all had children, so it was a lot of people.
And you could do a
And
lot with.
now everyone's everywhere, and it's just like, why are we spending all this money? Why are we making something that after that day, maybe the next day you'll have the leftover, which I'm not a leftover fan at
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Um, and
You're a fresh meal girl. You like fresh meals
yeah,
every day.
yeah. I did learn later at my job, they didn't, because I will always talk about how I didn't like leftovers. And so I would be like getting rid of a lot of food, and I was used to cooking for a lot of people. They were like, well, bring your leftovers in here. So
Ah, an extended family.
I fed my whole department for at least 2 years until I learned how to right size cook. And
Okay.
even then, I still brought in leftovers because I'm not a leftover person. Pretty much. I can eat very little things left over.
Gotcha.
Um, but let's get on the topic. I mean, we are on the topic because I thought we weren't, but it is because we're talking about trends in business. And
Okay.
so when it comes to your business, why are you just sitting and tolerating what you've already done or things that you may not have even liked to do?
Hmm.
And it started to become old and inspired, but you do it because you're used to it.
Hmm.
Um, where I work now and the sweet spot that I have is helping companies to decommission old software that's not used, the software that's no longer um, being serviced by the manufacturer, but things stayed for a while because you go on business as usual.
Hmm.
And so when we're talking about that, we're talking about trends, we're talking about shifts in the economy. We've been talking about that for the last few weeks, but everything is shifting. We still have things that are shifting. Um, what's going on? I don't feel like COVID moved us into something new. I think we were already going there. It just made the transition quicker. And
You're right.
so when we talk about the trends that are going to come up in 2022, because we are already almost in December. I think we only have maybe a day or two left in this month, and then
Yes.
we're going into the final month of the year. It is a good idea to start planning for. Well, you should have already started planning, but if you haven't, to start planning for the new year.
Yes.
Um, Generally, I start planning for the new year at the end of August and beginning of September to put in place what I need to have for the next year because it takes time to implement change.
Yes.
It takes time to implement shifts. It takes time once you see what has worked, what hasn't worked, and to start to make those changes. So, one of the big things that has happened in where we are now is the on demand economy shift. Okay. And so, on demand things are things like me. Mhm. Um, I need I need to have my stuff in 2 days. If I can get it in a day, I'm happy.
Okay.
Um, and the on demand shift has been the online shopping. People want stuff and they want it now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm that girl. I've always been that girl. My mom used to always tell me, like, if I got $10 in my pocket, it would burn a hole in my pocket
Hmm.
that I had to spend it.
Got to
Um,
spend it. Got to.
yes, I've learned budgeting, and I am the accounting girl, and I've learned that. But it wasn't even about the money I found; it was about what I wanted with the money.
Hmm.
Okay, so it wasn't that I didn't have value on a dollar. I growing up, I barely got allowance. So and I always had these, oh, if I had this money, I would do this, I would do that. So by the time I got the money that I got on birthday or whatever, I already knew what I wanted to buy, and now I actually have the cash to do it. So that's what it was about,
You were ready. You were ready.
right? So I was ready. I've always been kind of a planner. When it came to that, this is what I want. This is my list, and this, that, and the third. So once I got the means to have it, I wanted it And I wanted it right then. Mommy, can you take me to the store? Can you take me to the store? Well, we are a world, because I don't think it's just a US thing. A world of, all right, I have the money, I have the means, I want it now type of thing. And with COVID, it just opened it up more because I did online shopping prior to COVID, but I do a whole lot more now
We
of
all do.
online shopping.
We all
Number
do.
one is convenient because they deliver it to my door. I don't have to lug things to my car. Number two, I don't have to worry about social distancing. I don't have to worry about a mask. I don't have to worry about if someone is going to cough COVID on me or some other, diseases. I'm a germaphobe. I've always been a kind of a germaphobe. So even before COVID, if somebody was coughing around me, I'm looking like, oh God, they're about to give me the plague.
Hmm.
So that has picked up. And so as a business, you have to be able to meet, if you can, that on demand type of service. If you're shipping things out, if you're a service industry, how can I get the service that this person needs to them in the quickest, most efficient way possible?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so that is the trend. People do not want to have to wait, especially in this digital age where they can go and click a button and get everything else that they normally need. Any comments?
You, when you said that, it hit my mind. When do you want it? Yesterday. Yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And that is that's the thinking that I'm starting to develop in my business as well. Is how can I give it to you now? Because that's when everyone wants it now. Like you just said, I'll settle for tomorrow, but how can I get it now? And that's where you want to be really thinking and focusing on how can you get it to them now. Tomorrow is okay, but let that be a top priority if you can get it to them now without them even uh, needing you to click anything, to say anything. It's just they can hit some buttons and bam, there it is.
Right. How do I get it now? And how do I get it to them now? And how do I make sure that is of the quality in which will make my brand be presented in the best way?
Hmm.
So it's one thing to give something to someone quickly, it's another thing to give it to them quickly and with quality. And so that is the nuance that businesses have to take on. How do I provide this as swiftly as possible and with the highest quality possible? And so that is what businesses are running into, large and small.
Hmm.
When we came into COVID and everybody started delivering, it became a shock to the system, not just for small companies, but for large companies as well. I tell everybody, I think Walmart was not Walmart. Um, Amazon was the only company prepared to do those types of deliveries. But the thing about it is, they had been preparing for it for
Yes.
years.
Yes.
I've had 2 day shipping for Amazon for years, years and years. When they came up with it, up, I only have to wait 2 days when the standard was 3 to 5 business days. I
Hmm.
want this service. And I actually paid for Prime because actually Prime is a paid service for you to get the 2 days. And sometimes you don't even have to have Prime to get it in 2 days. But I pay for it because I wanted to make sure that I got my stuff in 2 days. It's to the point that also if they are late and they don't come in 2 days, sorry about that, they don't call you in 2 days or your package doesn't come in 2 days, they'll say, okay, we're running late. It's going to be this time. After that day or two, they come back. Do you want a refund
Oh,
for your stuff?
gotcha. Look at you.
Again, still quality service. What do you have in place that if you do have to delay, that you can still make your customer whole?
Hmm.
Are you offering a discount in the next service or the next product? Are you offering them a refund
Hmm.
um, for the product? Your customer service has to be paramount. One time I got a package from Amazon. and it literally was just the package. It was empty, but it was sealed up. I showed a picture thinking they was going to want to see all this kind of stuff and me return the empty package that was already sealed. No, they were just like, well, we'll give you your money back. Do you want a credit? Or, you'll get that right away. You can use it on something else, or we can give you the refund, which takes the normal banking time.
Mhm.
It's all in how you handle the customer. I was so surprised. I really thought I was going to have to go through a song and dance because anybody can say, "Oh, I got an empty package." I literally did have an empty package, but they didn't even ask me to to prove it. They was just like, "Okay, we'll just give you this." So you have to look at that when you come into your business and giving the on-demand services and the online on-demand services. Think about how you're going to carry those out, because especially is going to be paramount. We have um COVID striking up again with new mutations and stuff like that. So far, we haven't had any in this country, but it always starts somewhere else, and then a couple weeks later it's here. So we don't know how that's going to affect us. We don't know how it's going to affect the business. So we need to have those things in place so that we can properly service people for what they want. Another thing that has happened, and that was has started years before but started to tick back up, is the implementation of contactless payment. And so that the contactless payment, you could take your phone, beep. Bank's been talking about it for a while. Certain businesses, oh, you can take your phone and use this app and you can pay and you don't have to go into your wallet and different things like that. Or you could take your card and tap it. Or um, like Amazon, they're about to open up, I believe here, one of their stores where you can just walk through the store and pick up your items, and it's cameras everywhere that track where you go, and you walk out, there are no cashiers, and it charges your account based on what you picked up and walked out the store with.
Mhm.
Contactless. They did say that they would have some areas for people that did have a person, for people who still like that personal touch. But the impact of that is, number one, less workers, because if you don't have someone, that's a job, someone scanning your stuff. If you don't have someone scanning your stuff, that's a job that's lost. So that's a trend that you want to look at. You want to look at how that's going to affect you. If you're retail, how that's going to affect you, that people can just walk in and walk out and not even have to go into their wallet or their purse and have their things. How is that going to affect your business?
Mhm.
So the reason why I talk about trends, and I know people's like, she's talking about trends again, because it impacts your business. It impacts your bottom line. And if you are not prepared for that, then it can send you out of business.
Mhm.
So I don't know if companies are looking at that. I hope they are. The I'm sure the large ones are looking at that. How when you get going and you walk through and you don't have to swipe your card, you don't have the hassle of even a line, because you're just grabbing and going. You don't have to wait in line for someone to ring you up, which for me, especially in a crowded store, is horrible for me. I rather just get my stuff and go.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of people who would take, that as a consideration. And it's not even that people are even looking at um, replacing a person, because I never really think about, oh, this is someone's job. I'm just thinking about the convenience to me. Um,
Advanced technology. Yes.
yes. And how many times have you been running, um, a little late for something, or you right there and he's like, I just got to grab this one thing, and you go in that store and it's a line.
Mhm.
You want to talk about somebody not having a happy day. So something like that, the conveniences, and throughout history, conveniences have put people out of business. It has put people out of work. So as an organization, as a company, we need to look at that. We even need to look at how it's going to affect you as far as your bottom line when it comes to having employees. How are you going to handle that? How are you going to manage that? Is the person who's doing the job that is no longer going to exist trainable and able to be trained to do something else in your organization. That may be an option as opposed to laying someone off, or you may need to lay someone off.
Mhm.
Um, okay.
One of the things
I'm
I wanted to share, you know, that just crossed my mind. This is such a great topic because if you don't do anything tonight other than rethink some of the things that you're doing in business, and that's one of the things, in business that you've got to understand. There was a book that came out years ago called Megatrends, and it talked about what trends are coming down the pike. What are we preparing for? And as a business owner, you want to look at other businesses and pattern your business after other businesses that are industry leaders that is leading the charge in your particular industry. What are they doing? Because there's tech shows that come to town. There's there are there are uh, workshops. There's seminars. There's all type of events that happen that actually carries business into the next phase of your business, the next level of your business. And that is so important to just take time and say, where am I going to pattern my business? Where am I going to pace my business to? Do I want to do the same thing this year that I did last year? And you don't have to make major changes, but you do want to upgrade your services, your technology. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I was a little boy, my father had a cash register in the store. Well, cash registers they started changing. You know what I mean? Cash registers, when we rung up, you had to count the change that you took out of the register. Registers now, I mean, you type in the money, they tell you how much change to get back. You know what I'm saying? See,
mm-hmm.
those are the things that you want to understand. The way we do things is changing, and tonight's show is to get you to say 2022 is another year. What do you want to do differently to put your business at the top of its game? So important. That's all.
Yes, and that is so true. We are actually almost at the half of. I looked up, almost at the half. So we are going to take a small break and come back to talk about the trends that are currently going on now, and we're going to push us into 2022 and beyond.
We'll be back.
Are you looking to advance your career? Your resume is the single most important factor in advancing your career. It's the best way to show you have what it takes. Introducing Venture Ready LLC. We help professionals see beyond the limits of their current circumstances. We will significantly increase your chances of landing your dream job. We offer the following: career coaching, executive coaching, interview readiness, job search strategies, career transition coaching. Get in touch with us today. Venture Ready LLC, the complete package for any career path you take.
All right, we are back.
We're back.
Okay, so what we also have, I'm trying to pull it back up. That is okay. So the dominance of e-commerce and social commercial commerce growth. So what we had, and this was happening way before COVID, but became a necessity once we locked down, is electronic commerce.
Mhm.
So e-commerce again is electronic commerce, things that you are doing online, um, different payment systems, and what do they call them? Payment gateways, merchant accounts, having different merchant accounts. And so, as we saw, there was a rise of different things. PayPal has been around for a while, but we talked about Cash App and that becoming a factor in business. I myself had to do a Cash App transaction, and I was like, "Oh, let
Mhm.
me get this here," because I saw it as a personal gateway My cousin says they need $25, $50. I'm using it to send it to them real quick.
Hmm.
But this platform has greatly increased to be a business platform to people who need to use that service to pay for services.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we would have to get up on to speed with that if you want to stay on top of receiving payments, because you can lose a client by not having that payment method.
Hmm.
We are no longer in a place where, you know, as a business, especially a small business, where you can say, well, I don't use that payment platform.
Hmm.
And someone will go out to an ATM and provide you with the money, or they'll pull out their debit card if they have one, or what have you. We are in a place where the consumer, what their needs are and what they have so many other options with the internet. They have so many other options where they can, someone who does take their method of payment.
Hmm.
Also being able to make purchases through social media has become huge.
Hmm.
You can make payments through Google. You can make payments through Facebook and things like that. These are the things that have exponentially grown since we have started with COVID. Again, it was already there. So people think, oh, overnight this came. No, not really.
Hmm.
It
That's right.
just became more commonplace.
Exactly.
And as we move into 2022, those things are not going to go away. People are used to, number one, used to using them. They've been around for a while. Companies have found these things to be very efficient. And so these are the things, as a business, a small business, if you do not have those things in place, those merchant accounts in place, then you will be lost. I know when I started business, a lot of people did not want to use PayPal. I loved PayPal. I had
Mhm.
PayPal from the beginning.
Okay.
I had it as a personal account, and once I started business, I transferred it over to a business account. Now you still have people who prefer to use it or prefer not to use it, as far as business. But my question will be, what happens if you have a client who that's what they use?
Hmm.
So you have to make sure that you are able to take that method of payment. Um, what is another one? Vimeo. I don't even think I have that,
Yeah.
but
But it.
there's another payment gateway that also is contingent upon the group you are targeting.
Mhm.
More millennials or Gen Zs use things like Vimeo and Cash App. So, or if you're not dealing with that group, then maybe you don't need that payment method. But if you are, then you need to make sure that you have those platforms.
Mm. The question would be, uh, what is your clientele, your target market? What are they most comfortable with? What are they most familiar with? And you want to make yourself available for the systems that they pay with. And then the other thing that I wanted to suggest for all business owners to begin to look into, let 2022 be the year that you look into it. I'm not saying get involved in it, but look into it. Bitcoin. uh, that's a financial exchange that is absolutely gaining momentum. And I sat around for a while hearing about it and listening to it, but it's time to look into it and see what role will Bitcoin play in your business transactions. Because uh, one guy who bought a piece of real estate, and I thought it was interesting. It was a large purchase. It was like I think it was about $1 million purchase. The house was $1 million, and the owner said, "I will take 10% cash," but he said, "I'll take 30% in Bitcoin." You understand? And then the rest financing it traditionally. So I just want to let you know that the Bitcoin. I want you to just make it a point to look into it. You don't have to get involved in it just yet, but look into it, okay? Because that's another oncoming payment financial system that's definitely going to surprise you where we're going to find ourselves in this economy. Okay.
And it's funny you said that. I actually, um I'm not gonna say I don't agree, um but I honestly don't think people should wait on Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be my thing. Simply because number one, Bitcoin has been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly really wish I had gotten in on Bitcoin when it first started. I kind of shrugged it off like, what? That's not real money. And this is when we were still heavily into using paper money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now Bitcoin is huge. The people who came in on the ground floor are millionaires.
Yes.
Um, Bitcoin has always been around, and it is actually it's gained momentum, but is also kind of plateaued a little bit because you have other digital currencies out there,
Mm-hmm.
digital currencies that are doing pretty well. So, actually, my suggestion would be to look into digital currencies.
Mm-hmm.
It number one is not so strange now because your paycheck is digital because you get a direct deposit. You do not see cash. You
Mm-hmm.
see money in your account. You see money going out of your account when you swipe it. So basically your paycheck, your the money that you use now is digital.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For the most part. Can you go to an ATM and take out cash? Yes, but if you have a Bitcoin account or something like that, you can still go to the ATM and take out cash. So, depending on where you are, like if you go through the airport, they actually have an ATM for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's even if you travel around, you go out the country, they have ATMs where you can actually take cash out using Bitcoin or digital currency, the other digital currencies.
That's right.
Um, so I would admonish you, not even just as a business owner, but as an individual, to look into these things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to see if it would be a good investment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say talk to a financial advisor because they can let you know which ones, because I think two people have a thing of they don't know which one is valid and which one is not. You
Mm-hmm.
can go to a financial advisor, they can let you know which ones are actually real um, currencies.
Yeah. Which one's
You can
investment?
also go to the stock exchange because they have if you go to a place like if you do investments, you can look up digital currencies and the current digital currencies that are out there that are reputable are out there. So that's something for you to look at.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. So number five, and I'm sorry because I'm on my cell phone. So once we start talking, it goes off.
Right.
Um, so, and this is something that I have seen and everyone has seen an increase in um, who they call influencers, internet influencers now. So we've moved from influencers where you come in and you go to an event and they're there, but we have social media influencers, people
Absolutely.
who are particularly behind the screen. We're social media influencers, actually.
Absolutely.
um, and so you have the more why can't I get my thoughts together? You will have more of that where you'll have internet influencers, social media influencers, people who will be behind the camera who will reach a large amount of people,
Mm-hmm.
and there are going to be companies that will partner with you because you have that reach. So it's the same thing with TV as it is right now, which that's changing too, because now, as far as the stations, you still have the stations right now, but everyone's going to an online platform. Even major
Major.
stations are going to an online platform. When you have that, you have what is called commercials. So now you'll have people who will be giving you their product. So you can say, hey, and I'm using my mic for example, check out this brand new shiny toy. And I endorse this. And this is wonderful. And you can get it this way. And they'll have a handy dandy little link. Get this link through my thing. You'll get this discount and this. That influencer gets paid per the click on that link. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have more companies doing that because you have less people that are going out and more people who are online. I looked up research today, and it was saying that about 49% of people in general are not leaving their houses. They're scared to leave their house.
Hmm.
And this spans ages.
It does.
And so you have those people who are not leaving their houses. Well, where they're getting their information online.
Everything is online. Everything.
And you have the other part who they go out, but they go out for maybe necessities. They may go to an event, but they're there and they're leaving right back. So you have a larger percentage of those type of people, and then you have the smaller percentage that they're like, I'm just going to go anywhere. I'm going to live my life and do what I need to do. And you have those people who are people where they like to be around a whole crowd of people,
Hmm.
and everything like that. So you're always going to have those people that are going to go out and do what they need to do, but you have a large percentage of people who are not going to do that, not necessarily because it's not in their nature to do, but just because they're afraid with what's going on.
Hmm.
So, yep, I went through all of that. The next one is,
Well, I wanted to just share. I thought it was interesting when I found out, and this is a few years ago, but I thought it was interesting when I heard that Amazon brought Whole Foods.
yeah.
When Amazon bought Whole Foods, as we know, Amazon is a online company where everything comes to your door. Now, Jeff Bezos and his team realized we wanted to make sure that we could provide everything to those who didn't want to come out for nothing, everything at your door. They needed a food distribution center to actually distribute food, and they needed a company. So they brought Whole Foods, so they actually have a company that can actually provide not only books to your door, not only cooking utensils to your door, but food to your door. You know,
Hmm.
and that's what we're talking about tonight is in the future, how are you positioning yourself? And Amazon, who started out as just a book company, that's all they sold were books. And they slowly just increased their diversity, their line, and more and more things came to your door. So now it's just a warehouse of things that will come to your door. And that's how you want to be thinking. That's what you want to start seeing is how are other business thinking? Jeff Bezos, Amazon was one of them. And then the other one was Lyft, Uber. It's like, how do you start a cab company and you don't own any cab? You don't own any cars. You don't have to make any repairs. You don't have to buy any tires. How do you start a cab company and not own anything? How do you start an Airbnb and don't own any real estate? So this is how we want to be thinking when we approach our business in 2022. We want to start thinking out of the box.
Hmm.
That's going to be huge for all of us.
Yes, and you want to be innovative like that, and so um, it's all a part of being able to forecast.
Mhm.
So being able to forecast, Airbnb started out and people were like, "Oh, this is nice, this is cute," and people were using it. Now people are using it more and more, especially now because again, you can book it online. Um, it's convenient, and you can have a whole house to yourself.
Mhm.
You cannot do that going to a hotel on vacation, and Airbnbs became more popular as we moved into COVID because instead of me renting a room with God knows how many people and things like that, I can have my own private space with my family away on vacation.
That's right.
And so that became more prevalent. Like people were using it. Don't get me wrong, because I don't want people. Oh, she said that people weren't. People were using it, just not at the level that they're using it now.
and during COVID, the hotels closed. Remember, we had that window where the hotels closed. You could not get into a hotel, but you could still book an Airbnb.
Yes. Depending on the fact if they were not a multi-unit property,
Mhm.
yes, you could. Um, and it was wonderful. Again, it was another thing that I was just like, should I put my TAM in a ring? But no, I'm not an Airbnb owning type of girl.
Yeah.
um, I'll leave that for someone else, and I
Yeah.
think that they do a wonderful job at it. But again, before all of this happened, there were opportunities that came for me to do that.
Mhm.
It wasn't feasible then. Um, it is a little more feasible now, but with me thinking about it, who knows? I ended up with a broadcasting network, not knowing, but you know how I came into that and this opportunity. But that's where you want to be, you know, have your foresight with, and see what runs with your brand.
Yes.
Not necessarily sure that venture ready Airbnb is in the future.
That's
You
important.
know,
That is important. That what you. I mean, if you're offering services, you want to tie, you want them to tie together. You don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to come off where it's like, here it is. We talk about relationships, we talk about food, and then we talk about wrestling. It's like, how do
right.
we get them all together? So you want to see what fits that will really not raise an eyebrow too much when we share other services or other things we're into. You know what I'm saying? And it fits. You want to make sure it fits for you. You don't have to be a copycat.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You don't have to do it because everyone else is doing it. If it feels good within, and that's another thing. It could be something totally different. It doesn't always have to tie in. If you feel real good about it and it's a necessity and it's a service that people need, want, and is in demand, being the businessman or being the businesswoman, you want to make sure that you do what you need to do. Okay? That's important.
Absolutely. And that's why you look at your business plan. Do these things actually tie in? This is the time of year that you should be looking at your business plan, because the next year is coming and you want to make sure that what you already have ties in. And if it does not, what do you need to do? Do you need to sell off that portion? Do you need to bring in some other services if you want to grow and expand that does fit your brand? These are the things that you want to look at. And there's no shame in having different companies too. So it could be maybe you have all of this under one company and all of it doesn't tie in, maybe breaking off and having a separate company. So these are the things that you need to take a look at. Also, if you're doing that, the manpower that it would take to do it, because with every computer there's always a man or a woman behind there pushing a button. There's
Absolutely.
always someone somewhere, um to do that and to make sure that technical glitches get fixed and things like that. So these are the things that you want to look at. And that goes into the next thing when we were talking about manpower, is the fact that remote work is on the rise. Again, remote work was always there. I
Mhm.
have been privileged to have been able to be a remote worker for quite some time.
Mhm.
Even before I started my business, I was doing some type of remote work in some form. They're calling it hybrid now. They didn't call it then, but remote work is on the rise because people are just not comfortable going back into an office with potentially, like, I've always worked at big organizations where it's at least 5,000 people in your building. So people are not necessarily comfortable going back in the work environment and spending 8 hours pretty much, I don't want to say trapped, um pretty much in a space with a whole bunch with walls and ceilings and things
Mhm.
like that, and you don't have fresh air coming in because most skyscrapers do not have windows that you can open. So people are not necessarily ready to go back into that environment or comfortable going back into that environment. So, as an employer, do you understand that? Are you willing to be flexible?
Mm-hmm.
Because just like it is a buyer's market out there, sort of hybrid, and seller's market out there, it's also an employee's work environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because things have opened the way they are, because there are remote options, and so many of them, because of jobs that have been made available, people are getting up for the first time in, I think they said ever, because I do research on a lot of stuff, getting prepared for these shows and my business and things like that, is that for the first time, you have people who have been in companies for 20, 30 years that are getting up and leaving because of the flexibility and ability to work from home. You
That's true.
have them doing that because you have some that are not comfortable with their children um, going into the classroom environment, and they're deciding that they want to stay at home and make sure that their children are schooled from home. So then you need work that will be able to balance that. And because of the way the economy is, pay is higher
Mm-hmm.
than it has been in a while. And so, what are you doing to ensure that you keep the exodus from happening at your organization?
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer in a place where you can say, and I always hated the saying, and I've had it said to me, I've had it said to my departments a couple of times, that you just need to be lucky that you have a job. Well, not really. You should feel lucky and blessed that you have an employee that's willing to help you achieve your mission. And I say that within reason because, yeah, there are some things that you might not be able to do as an employer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real, that's the reality. And whether you're a large employer, whether you're a small employer, there are certain things that you may not be able to do, and you may have someone trickle out. But there are some things that you may be able to do that will benefit you. One of the things for remote work that was the biggest thing and has been argued for years, and it is true, is that companies save a lot of money having remote employees. Oh,
Absolutely.
hello, Deborah. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I thought I put her on there. There you go. Hola.
Hola.
So she's coming on the replay and sent a message, probably via her phone.
Okay.
Um, a wonderful colleague that I had. She was one of the people in the very beginning when I started out. That was my biggest supporter, collaborator, and everything like that. I wouldn't be where I am today if it had not been for her and her encouragement.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually one of the people that I was introduced to when I told the story last week about going into business and taking my mommy uh, with me to the conference because I was so scared to go by myself in a room full of strangers who, in my mind, were all smarter than me and been doing this longer.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
had my little insecurities, and she was like, "Girl, child, you don't have to worry about that. You smart. You can do this."
Right. Yes, yes, yes.
So,
And you need those people, and that's what you were just talking about, just in terms of employer-employee relationships,
mm-hmm,
is that, I mean, if you have a task that you're taking on, or if you have a business that you're taking on, and you can do it all by yourself, it's really not a business. You need a team. We all need a team. Okay.
mm-hmm,
And that's why when it comes down to business and relationship, business is relationship. What is your relationship with your employees? What is your relationship with your employer? And I tell employees, because oftentimes employees don't realize the clout that they have in terms of negotiating what they want from their employer,
mm-hmm,
what you ask for, what
mm-hmm,
you need, how much time do you need off, how much time do you need to work? Because I've heard stories, and this is one case that I thought was interesting. Let's take a 5-day work week.
Mm-hmm.
We normally think we work 5 days. Well, one lady decided I would like to do a 3-day work week.
Mm-hmm.
I can be extremely productive in these 3 days than I can be in 5 days, just kind of like really honing on and focusing on what I need to do. And I want the same pay that I
Mm-hmm.
would get for 5 days that I would just do in these 3 days. And by the time she finished presenting to her employer, he agreed with the deal. Now she's off Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. You understand what I'm saying? She's got more
Mm-hmm.
time off to be with her family, to do what she needs to do, to recruit, be refreshed, do her research, her due diligence for her business and her career. And then when it's showtime, she gets in the office and she does what she needs to do. So don't underestimate thinking out of the box for what you want,
Mm-hmm.
guidelines and the parameters that you would like to work within. Because believe you me, all of us can be more effective in 10 hours. If we just focus and say, listen, I'm not going to go to the bathroom 3 times a day, I'm not going to go drink all that water, I'm not going to go get a snack. If you just really start focusing in on your time, you will be extremely productive. So I just wanted to encourage you, not only with your employee but with your business, just kind of like start
Mm-hmm.
focusing in on how much time you're going to dedicate uninterrupted. You'll be more productive.
And the funny part, that it's funny that you said that. The funny part is the research showed and had been showing for years that employees that work from home are actually more productive. Why? Because they don't have the distractions. Because the distractions, honestly, is not in the bathroom breaks.
Hmm.
Is what people coming up to your desk to want to have this chat and conversation. Um,
Hmm.
is the person who might be a little too loud on the floor.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, really, when you work from home, it's an out of sight, out of mind type of thing. So you can actually literally get more done because you don't have as many distractions. Um, we have, if you can also still have that time by having like, we went through that with remote work, having virtual coffee breaks and things like that. But people are more, because they're more relaxed. You're in your home, you're more comfortable.
Hmm.
Most companies, not all, provide you with the computer, provide you with whatever network that they work on, and a
Hmm.
device for that. You have to pay for your internet, but you were paying for that anyway.
Anyway,
Um,
anyway,
they provide you with the means to talk. Most companies, some do not. Um, but I was doing remote in a time where it was like, oh well, go on your home computer and do what you need to do.
yeah.
But now companies are making it more convenient for people. They're providing them with the equipment that they need to do the job.
Hmm.
At one point, it was full power for you to have a second monitor, even on the job. But now they're sending you a second monitor home. Um,
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
and so when that happened with me, it blew me away. I'm like, wow, you're giving me a second monitor. I don't have to buy a second monitor. And it was said to me, oh well, we found that people are more productive, isn't it better? And I was like, yes it is. But normally I'm providing the second monitor for myself. So these things, when you think about it, the cost is the equipment they had to provide anyway, but they're not paying for office space, or at least
Hmm.
for that. They're not paying the electricity for that. They're not paying the air conditioning. They're not paying the heat. They are saving money,
Hmm.
even with liability insurance. These are things that the company saves by allowing you to work from home. And because other companies um, are trying to pick up people, are trying to get talent, especially technically inclined clients, experienced clients with project work, you as an employer, it would be behoove you to start looking at those ways that you can assist your employees and entice them to want to stay
Hmm.
in the organization. You won't be losing money, but you losing as much as you're gaining. I'm not going to say you're not going to lose any money because you, depending on who you are, but you will be gaining a whole lot. It costs a whole lot more to find an employee, from the search, from the interviewing, from the onboarding to the training, than it does to keep a happy employee.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. I had a client that I thought it was interesting during the COVID. She was working her regular job, but then she wanted to earn a little extra money, so she took a second job on. And being able to work from home, she was able to do both of them. You know what I'm saying? Equally as efficient. But once they said we may go back in the office, somebody's going to lose a good employee because now she's not going to be able to maintain that second job because now we got travel time, we got meetings in the office. So, like you're saying, it's really beneficial when you allow employees, those that can, to work from home. It's just it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm. And also, even if, like, say the second job was outside of the home, you're saving on commute time from the first job to the second job,
Yes,
or to home, and then take care of them, and then the commute again. Um, and I say that because flexibility is flexibility,
yes.
and to be able to be flexible
Nothing
to
like
people's
flexibility.
lifestyles,
Mm,
because there was a time where employers was like, oh well, well, you work a second job, but we're your primary job. Like,
mm,
so that's what I'm saying. There are ways to be flexible. Okay, as long as your second job doesn't interfere with these duties, fine. Have a second job. You can work from home. You can do, again, it really comes down to what it is that they're doing, whether it will affect the productivity of what they're doing, and everything like that, but being realistic to people's lifestyles. Because if you cannot afford to give someone a raise, food has gone up, I believe, like 20%.
mm.
The cost of things have gone up, and people's salaries have not necessarily caught up with that.
They don't keep pace oftentimes. They don't keep pace with inflation.
Yes. And it's not just people who are making minimum wage that are struggling, because minimum wage is just that, and minimum wage has not been raised in years and years and years. They're still trying to make mandates for that. And it was funny because I talked to someone who was working. It was like, yeah, they're about to raise minimum wage, but they're not about to raise the regular wage. Because you have people now who are making $15 an hour. So they were like, so if they raise minimum wage to $15 an hour, I'm now making minimum wage. And no one has had the conversation to raise my salary
Mm,
because of the fact that now I'm going to be making minimum wage. And I had to think about that, because I said, yeah, what about that? Yeah, they raised it to $15 an hour, which some places have.
yes.
Then what about the quote unquote more skilled people who are making 15, 16, $17 an hour? What happens to their salaries?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So it's an interesting nuance. I never really thought about it. I was just like, yeah, raise the minimum wage. People can't live off, adults can't live off of $7 an hour. But then it's like, once you do that, then what happens to the people who are currently making that's considered doing well?
That's right.
How do you account for that?
And been
um
on the job for years. And been on the job for years.
yes, yes, so that's another discussion. um we got on it because we talked about the two jobs,
Yeah.
um and everything, which I have worked two jobs pretty much most of my life. So I do feel that pain, and I did it in the time where we were not remote. And I painstakingly came from one job and drove directly to another, and would leave there at 10, 11 o'clock at night, and get a couple hours sleep and do it all over again.
Do it again. Do
Um,
it again. Lord, I remember those days.
but you do what you have to do to earn a living. And I think that's the thing that really needs to be seen by employers, that your employee is trying to earn a living. They're trying to survive. They're trying to, um, well, not just survive, they're trying to thrive, that have the clothes, having the shelter. I mean, I've known people who were making um, minimum wage jobs that were homeless because they couldn't afford a house, but they're working every day,
Hmm.
going to work every day, hard workers. So it's definitely, when you look at things from that perspective, how would you feel if you worked every day and you were sleeping in your car, or you were going to a shelter, not because you don't have a job, you don't have a means, or you consider it quote unquote lazy, um, but because you're just not getting paid enough, for your skill set.
Hmm.
And everyone has a skill set, no matter how you want to look at it, because when you drive up to that drive through, you still want that person to be able to do their job, and that is a certain skill set.
It's a skill.
Um, so that's why I don't like, skilled and unskilled labor. All labor is skills. It's just a different type of skill.
But
Um, and this is coming from someone who has worked pretty much all types of
from the ground
jobs,
up, from the ground up, I've
from
been.
retail on down. And trust me, it is a special skill. And when someone does not have that skill, it becomes painfully clear and painfully obvious that they do not have that skill
Hmm.
or that skill set.
That's it. That's right.
So um I'm going to get off of that. We are at the top of the hour. So those were some of the trends that you should be looking for as an employer, as a small business or a large business, that is going to impact you, that you should be preparing for right now before the new year comes in. um it's better late than never, because I do feel like it is a little late to be looking at it. But if you look at it now, it's better than you waiting until the new year to start looking at stuff where things might knock you for a loop.
Hmm.
January comes where people roll out and companies roll out things, and you don't want to be caught off guard by not being prepared, because it can cost you greatly.
Hmm. And that, and to our listeners, that's the beauty of having a show like this here, is because oftentimes, as the business owners, we're so busy running our businesses, making it happen, doing what we need to do. You don't really take time to plan out long term. So to have a show like this that says, listen, it's the sooner the better, better late than never. You know what I'm saying? It gets you to understand at least you're in November going into January, and it's not too late. Begin to take a look at the things that you need to relook at, revisit some things, rethink some things, and your business will absolutely benefit just by relooking at some of the things that you're doing. And the question you always ask, what I'm doing now, can I do it better? And is
Hmm.
the best way to do it? You'll never go wrong when you ask that question.
You never will. And I'm going to end it on that note, because that was perfect. Thank you so very much for joining us for this episode of High Tea with me. And we will see you next week with Dr. Love's love topic, because we will be in a new month.
Mountains in the air. Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of High Tea with me. To be a guest on the show, contact us via